What are your views on eloping? What is the most important thing to look for in a man? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Juliet Nishimwe, and I'm so glad that you're watching today's video because it's an exciting one. We are going to be doing a Q&A. It's not going to be too long, it's not going to be too crazy, and it's going to be over questions that you guys asked, and let's get into it. Today is a cozy kind of vibe. We got our Starbucks hot cocoa. No, I did not get this from Starbucks. I got this from the kitchen, but I have a Starbucks cup. I don't know, I've heard Starbucks is demonic. I don't know how true that is, but I'm definitely sponsored by them today. They should sponsor me. Anyways, let's start with the very first question. So I used the not gonna lie thingy, and at first I thought people, like the messages that were coming in were questions like, are you single, are you taken, da 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 da, and I literally was like, who's asking these questions? And then I realized that the app has these questions that it just sends for funsies, and I was like, but anyways, I'm gonna start with your guys' questions, and then I'm gonna look at the few of the app's questions, which is really weird. But anyways, the first question is, when have I felt pressured to hide my faith to fit in? Honestly, I feel like I've had that feeling a lot, but I can't think of exactly one instance. Maybe in high school, for sure. I had times where I felt like I was being too radical for Jesus, and so I didn't talk about him as I should have, which I regret. I don't know why. I was ashamed because if the people who, the way I got saved, if they didn't talk about Jesus, I would not be here today. I don't even know if I would be on this earth. It was that bad. And so I'm just like, dang, I should have used my voice when God had told me to use it. And so that's the first question. As a Christian African, as a Christian / African, what are your views on eloping? What are my views on eloping? Honestly, I would say as a Christian, I don't think it's the best first option, especially if your family doesn't know, because I do believe we have a purpose of witnessing, especially to family members who are not believers. And just running off like that out of nowhere and boom, you're married, I think can create a lot of chaos and unnecessary pain that would have been avoided if you guys first consulted your parents and your family. But there are very rare circumstances where the family, you don't talk at all and they refuse to talk to you. It's not because of something you are doing, but they just don't want to. And financial reasons. But honestly, I would say as a Christian, first take it to the Lord in prayer. As an African, if you want drama, if you want chaos for the rest of your life, go ahead, elope. Of course, there could be forgiveness and the parents can accept it, but it's always just gonna be in the back of their minds like, disobedient child, you know? I think there's better options. If you elope, at least have your family knowing. Don't just run off and boom, you're married. I don't know. I've heard stories of African girls who did that, and the moms are not the happiest, moms and dads. And so, if you can, please look for another way. So, what is the hardest thing you've ever overcome? This one, it varies. There's a lot of hard things I've overcome. It's to say the hardest one. I guess one that comes to my head is sexual sin. And no, I did not sleep with anyone. Mercy, no. Not that I don't want to be like self-righteous and like, I am, a virgin. No. That's not my attitude here. But other forms of sexual sin, lust and whatnot, I think that's something I really thank God that he's helped me overcome, because I don't even say I overcame it. It's literally God who did it. There's different types of sexual sin outside of the act, like pornography and all these other things, fantasies, whatnot. There's a whole realm. Oh, and one thing I really want to talk about one of these days on my channel is book talk. Anyways, book talk. Or just like the whole realm of books when it comes to the female audience, because there are some things that I'm like, that's literally should not be read as a Christian, especially as a Christian female. Some of these things in the books, I'm like, whoa. I'm talking about like smut and stuff. I don't know. I gag at it because anyways. What part of being an SDA Christian do you find hardest to live out right now? This is a good question. So for those who don't know, I am a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. No, I don't worship Ellen White. No, I don't force people to keep the Sabbath. That is just God's 10 commandments. And as a follower of Christ, I'm going to keep all 10 through Christ, not through my own strength. And the hardest part of me being a Seventh-day Adventist Christian is just how people think we're a cult. Because I'm like, you watched some YouTube video, you didn't even do the research yourself. You just saw some guy online talk about how the church is a cult, taking things out of context and saying, boom, they're a cult. And the way I got saved was not through Adventist people. Like, even though they did preach the gospel, I heard it from another person more clearly, if that makes sense. It was a young person, so I don't know. Anyways, it was a young person who preached the gospel to me. And I believe the hardest thing as an SDA right now is just the lack of people knowing our own doctrine, knowing prophecies, knowing the things that are in the Bible that we overlook so many times because it's not preached in mainstream Christianity. And just like the lack of knowledge of the Bible. I think that's the hardest thing all of the whole church is going through, and the hardest thing for me is just the cult thing. I am not in a cult, bro. I literally got saved. I know Jesus Christ. I have experienced a relationship, and I'm still experiencing a relationship with him. So what is the most important thing to look for in a man? FYI, people are like, you talk about relationships a lot. I'm like, yeah, you guys like when I talk about relationships. The views are much higher when I talk about relationships. But things to look for in a man, I would say, is first, if he fears the Lord. Not even just he's a Christian or he's Adventist or he's Baptist or whatever you are. It's if he fears the Lord. Because there's a difference between a guy who says he loves the Lord but doesn't fear the Lord. And fear the Lord looks like actually caring what God thinks, actually caring and revering God in his life. And I would just say the top 3 things. The second thing is to look for a guy who's a servant in heart. And I know to the Africans, they're like, hey, if he is not a servant of Christ first and foremost and doesn't have a servant attitude, that's going to be very hard when you're married. Because you're going to be stuck doing everything by yourself. You are going to be the one who's managing the household, and he's just going to be like, video games, I don't know. He's not going to be helping, and that's going to be difficult. And third thing for me personally is look if you guys have a good foundation of friendship. Don't look for attraction. Don't look for, oh, looks cute, no. Those things are going to fade. He can get in a car accident, get a bunch of scars on his face, boom, he's not cute anymore. Are you still going to be with him? Look for a good foundation of friendship. If you guys are best friends, then that's going to make a really healthy, easy marriage. Not easy, but much more tolerable. Look for a best friend and not just looks. And then somebody wrote here anonymous messages. Thanks. What else? And then these are some questions from the thing. And one of them is, how would you want somebody to tell you they had a crush on you? Would you want them to tell you if you had let me say it again. Would you want somebody who had a crush on you to tell you they have a crush on you? And the answer to me is, it depends, actually. Because I feel like if it's a guy friend that I have right now and they told me and I don't like them, I guess that's the end of that friendship. Yep. I don't know, because I guess you should tell me so there's no weird lingering feelings and then I end up with somebody and there's a strain in the relationship and I'm just like, what? So I guess the answer is actually not, it depends. Actually, the answer is yes, please tell me, because I would love to know. And what's your sign? The cross. Oh, and then there's one here that tells me, genuinely tell me where in the Bible does it say the roles for men and women? And 2 places I can think of right now is Ephesians 6, where it talks about men, love your wives, women, submit to your husbands, and Proverbs 31, about a hard-working, diligent woman, and Song of Solomon's, I guess. Honestly, I've read the book and I'm just like, I'm confused with what's going on. I don't get it. I don't get the spies behind it. I just stare blankly and what do you mean hair like flocks of sheep? I don't know. It's just me personally, but I'm sure if I studied it a bit more, it would make more sense. So check out those 3 places. I said 2, but I meant 3. And just read the Bible. The men and women should look like Christ. because we are one in Christ. Not just marriage, but also like the body of Christ. They should be reflecting Christ. They should look like Christ. And the best way to know Christ is by reading about him in the Bible, which you can find throughout the whole Bible, but more specifically in the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Do you have a crush? No, I don't have a crush because I don't want to have a crush. I could choose to have a crush, but I'm not gonna, because I want to just focus on God right now. I know that sounds so cliche, but I genuinely just want to be at a place where I'm comfortable in my relationship with God, that I don't feel like I need a spouse or need a significant other. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna keep sipping on this. Please go share with your friends, and if you have more questions, tell me. But I hope you have a good day. Bye.